What is going on, everybody? It's the France, and we're back again with another Elestrals Banned and limited list. It looks like Void is meeting his maker and heading off to Tartarus. Why? Honestly, I figure if you take Full Moon away, Void's not as powerful as he is if you have Full Moon. So let's see what the explanation is here. And this can't be the only thing. This can't be.
We're sending Void, champion of Artemis, to Tartarus. Sort of.
He said sort of.
It's time to announce the mid-season ban and restricted list update for Elestrals TCG. This list will be
Wait, so he's saying just the champion version. Okay.
effective on July 29th when Elestrals Clash goes into early access on Steam. If you have not wishlisted Elestrals Clash, you definitely should do so. And get excited as players around the world will have an opportunity to play Elestrals for free from the comfort of their home. And every card is free. It's going to be incredible. We've got this awesome list here to shake up the metagame just in time for that. And this new ban and limited list will be active for the August 2nd premiere event, as well as the duration and remainder of the Firestorm metagame. After extensive testing from our ban team and taking in feedback from the top players in the game, we've ultimately made some decisions to limit a handful of cards in the metagame to create a more diverse play experience, reduce fatigue from certain strategies, and ultimately make Elestrals better for it. It's worth noting that any card that is added to a limited or ban list may come off of it in the future, as we are always testing different strategies.
Yeah, but we know Elichick, like the one, like the early ban list, like the tie in them, they're not coming off because you made Escape from Tartarus Virgin's form. You're not bringing those guys back normally.
And ideas to create the best play experience at the highest levels of competition.
And honestly, if they make a full-on ban, I wouldn't mind having an Escape from Tartarus, which has a different effect and different attack and defense. It changes it up, and you don't have to worry about those ones, and you can still bring them back in.
The play for all players. The first card that we are limiting to one copy, effective July 29th, is Hurricane. Hurricane was originally introduced to the game.
Oh, I saw this coming. I mean, I figured Hurricane wasn't going to be used that much. I mean, come on. Obviously, if you're going up against somebody, especially with Hurricane being in the card pool, if you're somebody who's like a serious player, obviously you're going to sit there and you're going to not want to put too much back row out there. You want to put one, maybe one at the most. So why would your opponent want to waste a Hurricane on one back row? So this will make it a little bit more interesting to see how this goes.
To help quell some of the challenges of players setting multiple back row and other players having to fight through that back row to ultimately gain any sort of an advantage in the clash. While this certainly does do what it intends to do, it also creates non-interaction points where players don't have any opportunity to make any moves and stop their opponent, which is
again, with Hurricane being in the card pool, people are going to sit there and hesitant. Okay, I have a shield in my hand, I have a poison tip there in my hand, and I have poison nectar in my hand or something. I'm going to put the shield and the poison. Like say I have two shields and a poison tip there. Put all three down. Oh, my opponent used Hurricane. I just lost all three of those. So the next time because this is a best of three, game two, I'm going to be hesitant to put down anything because they have Hurricane and I do not.
Huge part of what Elestrals actually is. Hurricane is one of those cards that's fun to use when you're the one using it, but it feels terrible when you get blown back and your entire rune row is destroyed, and then your opponent sets up some crazy combo.
You know, you could have made it so it doesn't destroy all runes. You could have made it so it destroys some runes. Instead of going, yep, we're just going to destroy everything. Obviously, again, if you have Hurricane and your opponent does not, you can sit there and destroy their entire rune back row, and then flood your entire back row with a bunch of runes, and your opponent can't do anything to stop you because you use Hurricane. They could have easily made sure that this would not become as broken as it is if it wouldn't have been destroy all face down runes. It could have been destroy a couple face down runes. Maybe you have to pick you get to pick one or two, maybe not just all. It definitely was they didn't think this went through when it came to how powerful destroy all face down runes was going to go.
And you have no opportunities to interact. By putting Hurricane as a power card to one copy will require players to make some more difficult decisions when managing their spirit deck of whether or not they want to include the spirits to justify one Hurricane.
Hurricane was always a one, and honestly, it feels like from what I've seen, Hurricane definitely from the start felt like it should have been a one card anyway. Who's going to want to sit there and rock water, thunder, and wind in their deck? You're going to do water, thunder, wind, water. You're not going to do all three. You're always going to have that third one for secondary decks or whatever. Side deck, So this one always felt like it was more of a one of anyway. So I don't really see this being that big of a hit for anybody because it just feels like it should have been a one of anyway.
We're going to continue to develop more face down removal for the game that doesn't quite have this same effect as Hurricane where it blows up the entire field, but rather can be used a little bit more strategically, like a thunderstorm or like a blizzard, for example. Part of this decision to limit Hurricane takes into consideration some of the cards coming in Divine Champions livestream, some strategies that may kind of conflict with what Hurricane is trying to do. Cards like Thunderstorm are going to see a lot more play, and because of that, players are going to need to be able to account for that by setting multiple back row. In a world where Thunderstorm is one of the top tier cards in the game, and Hurricane is at 3 copies, I think we're going to create a very bad player experience for many players, and result in many non-interactive.
I don't know. I don't know too many people who actually like using Thunderstorm. I do my main deck whenever I play. Thunderstorm's always been in my main deck from day one, since day one. But yeah, the Hurricane I think was a little bit overpowered. If it wouldn't have been like destroy all ruins, and it would have been just a couple like destroy a face down up to two face down ruins, it would have been a little bit better than just destroy everything. So yeah.
Games. Hurricane is a card that we're going to continue to test and monitor, but I feel very optimistic with it.
And it would have been also interesting to see if it would have been like destroy up to 2 face down ruins on each side. So obviously you want to play it when you have nothing down, but if you have stuff down and you get it in your hand after the fact, it would be like, do I want to play this and destroy everything in my back row, like 2 in my back row or something? Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It just seems like every time we get this limited ban list that they are putting cards in there that they did not think completely through.
At 1 copy. The next card we are limiting to 1 copy is Kinleo. Kinleo has long been one of the strongest Nexus Celestial users in the game, being able to destroy.
Boo, Kinleo is awesome. Why would you do that to Kinleo?
Destroy an Celestial on the field, regardless of their enchantment cost, simply by Nexusing. Its full potential hasn't been met up until Hephaestus and the artifact support came in Firestorm, allowing it to unleash its full power and become one of the most dominant decks in the metagame. I've heard this saying many times.
So Fire finally gets itself a viable deck, and Dan's like, nope, can't do that. Fire has to suck. Fire has to be hurt. How could you just how are we gonna do that? Earth and Electra and Thunder have been 2 of the most dominant decks. Fire gets 1 dominant deck finally, and you go, nope, we gotta limit it.
Times that it's the second Kinleo that gets you, and Firecasters will have plenty of tools to access their 1 copy of Kinleo through cards like Smoltuga and Stoke the Forge to minimize the impact of this hit, but allow other players to focus their counters onto dealing with this powerful threat and ensuring that, generally speaking, they won't have to deal with it again once they see the Kinleo 1 time. The third and final card that will be limited to 1 copy for this list is Morolith. Now, in our last ban list, we made a limit to Rise from the Ashes.
Are we just gonna limit every? Why don't we just limit every lift? You already have Lava Lift. You already have Arca Lift. I'm pretty sure there's another lift too that might be at 1. So now we're putting Morolith, which honestly, Morolith is more detrimental to yourself unless, of course, you're doing the Blistrix line, because you're milling yourself 5, and who's gonna play Morolith unless you're doing Bliss? Blistrix still needs to be banned or limited.
Which was designed as a way to reduce the power level of Blistrix. And then Josh went and won a tournament with Blistrix, and we were like, oh wait, that's a thing. And his combination of utilizing Mountains of Boreas alongside Brumalinks to increase the power level of his Cedar Swords and his Moroliths became incredibly overwhelming for other players.
Why don't you limit Blistrix? Why are you trying to do everything else but limit Blistrix? That's the simple answer. Limit Blistrix. It's not that difficult. Why is Blistrix still at 3?
Morolith is a very unique card in the context of the other Lith Elestrals because its condition to be cast is not necessarily a comeback mechanic. It can be generated very advantageously by simply playing pieces like Morfrost Lycanform to be able to load up your Underworld and then resolve Morolith's casting condition. Self-mill is a strategy that has a good amount of support coming in upcoming sets, and I think that if Morolith stays at 3 copies, it would become way too overwhelming for players to deal with. I also think the Frost element has a couple really cool strategies that can be explored and will continue to be highlighted in upcoming sets, and by giving a little bit more room to breathe for those other Elestrals and cards, we should see more diverse strategies coming out of the Frost element. I think all 3 of these changes will be a very positive change to the metagame, allowing players to explore new options and remove.
But yet you still haven't limited Blistrix. Unless Blistrix is being outright banned, this is pointless. Someone will find a way to get Blitztrix to be dominant again.
Some of the more powerful cards and limit them so that their frequency is simply reduced. I think specifically with the launch of Clash as well, this should give a better new player experience for anyone trying Elestrals for the first time. I mentioned in the introduction of this video that Like a Void, Champion of Artemis, was going to be banned and sent to Tartarus, and that is indeed true. We are indeed banning Like a Void, Champion of Artemis. This was a card that we tested extensively and looked at various combinations.
Apparently not. You didn't, like, this is another thing. Apparently you didn't do it enough.
On how to solve the splashability of the Like a Void package and the overwhelming nature of swarming the field with multiple Werepup without much interaction from your opponent. The 6-5 stat line proves to be very challenging for players to deal with, and it's all the Werepups that hit the field that can turbo into various ascensions. They become very overwhelming, where if the first person to establish their Like a Void ultimately will generally win the Clash, and that creates an unfun game experience for many players, especially new players who are entering the game. We looked at opportunities like limiting Werepup to 1 copy, or even banning Full Moon, but ultimately the decision to ban Like a Void, Champion of Artemis is a
just limit Full Moon. It's not that difficult.
Unique one, because we have a very different solution for how we're handling this card than really any other card that we've approached in the past. Now, Elestrals has done functional erratas in the past, and we've also done Escape from Tartarus versions of Elestrals to kind of reimagine some of our favorite Elestrals. However, in this case, we are going to be using an errata for Like a Void, Champion of Artemis to tweak its effects slightly to bring it more in line with the competitive metagame and the desires of our players. Like a Void, Champion of Artemis will be on the ban list from July 29th until Livestream releases. However, it will come off the ban list when Livestream releases with a brand new errata text that will be featured in the Artemis starter deck, as well as a new printing in Shattered Stars. This errata text is going to simply change the condition where Like a Void can cast any number of Werepups to now say that Like a Void can only cast Werepups up to the number of suppressed cards on an opponent's field. Okay. I'm actually a really big fan of this change because I think it brings it more in line with what Werepup Champion of Artemis is trying to do and what Artemis as a strategy as a whole is trying to do, and this will allow players to continue to explore splashing Moonrise Like a Void into their decks while also allowing suppression control based decks to still use the power of Like a Void, but more so focus within that archetype. Players will still be able to use their Firestorm or Stellar Rare Tournament Pack Like a Voids, but they'll need to refer to the updated errata text when competing. I'm really excited to hear your feedback to this approach, so please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As I said, we have done erratas for cards in the past that did slightly change their functional effects. This is probably the most extreme case of this, and I wanted to try it out because, again, we were introducing the card again through Livestream starter decks, and it was a key card there. It's also being introduced in Shattered Stars with a very, very cool artwork that I want you guys to be able to enjoy. But ultimately, this is a great card that has a lot of space in the game. I think it's just came a little too early in the metagame, and it ultimately created some bad taste in people's mouths with it being overwhelming to play against. By switching it to the suppression-focused strategy, it's more in line of what the effect probably should have been from the get-go, and this is a great learning experience for us, so I encourage you to leave your feedback on this approach for erratas in the future. We're going to continue to explore the Escape from Tartarus cards, and I'm looking forward to hearing how you feel about us doing this errata approach for very minor changes to card effects in the future. That concludes our ban and limited list for
Yeah, we have 3 limit lists on the limit list. Why don't we just limit them all, just to make it all fair? Of course, Like a Void Champion is going to be going off. Like Sparkit, Elichick, and Jatayo never coming out of Tartarus. They had their escape from cards, so that's never going to happen. Semi-limited, we need a couple more of these, but you limit Moralith just like you did Rise from the Ashes to try and to stop Blitztrix from being so broken, but you won't limit Blitztrix. That's the issue. Limit Blitztrix. That's all you gotta do, is limit Blitztrix.
The upcoming format. There was a ton of cards that we tested and looked at, but ultimately decided to keep the changes to just these. I want to mention, I know there's been some discussions around the counter rune suite and the limiting of some of the power counter runes like Gork.
There is no reason to ever do these, because only 3 is not that big of a deal. Like, honestly, these should not be limited whatsoever. If you limit these, you pretty much kill Elestrals.
Dragon's Gaze, Shield of Achilles, Poison Tipped Arrow, and a few others. My goal is to continue to introduce more elemental
like I said, if you limit Shield of Achilles and all, like Tsunami is one of those ones, oh, just put a water element under, you're good. Like, that's one of the most easiest counter runes to get past. The other ones, it's like Poison Tipped Arrow cost to use a lot. If you use it at the wrong time, it's going to cost you a lot more. Same thing with Shield of Achilles. Why would you even think? Why would if anybody is having an issue with those 4 cards, those 4 counter runes, then you should stop playing Elestrals. Plain and simple. They are not. They are not. Nor should they ever be talked about being banned. 3 is the best thing for those because if you limit those, you might as well just quit playing. Might as well just get rid of Elestrals because you're just getting rid of all chances of having a competitive deck whatsoever.
Specific runes, especially counter runes, that allow more interesting play patterns and create more dynamic gameplay strategies, as opposed to cards that are splashable into every single deck. This is something
There is nothing wrong with having cards that are splashable into every single deck. Sorry, there's not.
that's going to take a little bit of time, and you'll continue to see it built off of and developed in Livestream and future sets. Once those sets come out and we've introduced more options for players, especially elemental specific options, then we can take a look at limiting some of these powerful counter runes to increase diversity among the metagame.
If you limit Shield of Achilles, you limit Poison Tipped Arrow, you limit Tsunami, which is one of the easiest cards to get around, and you limit Gorgon's Gaze, you've pretty much just killed your card game. Because what is wrong with having those cards be 3 splash? Like, it's 4 cards that you can splash in any deck. That is okay to have. That's next thing you know, they're gonna limit Ambrosia. That's a splashable card in every deck. That should be in every single deck. You're gonna limit that next too? God, man, why are we talking about stuff like this?
It's worth noting that anytime you utilize a structure deck or starter deck, as long as it is unchanged, you can use it legally, even if it has banned or limited cards in it. Our team is going to continue testing various scenarios and monitoring the competitive metagame and the health of the game, both with the launch of Elestrals Clash and the upcoming Premier events, to ultimately make Elestrals the best card game we possibly can. Don't forget, Elestrals Clash launches on early access.
Alright, so let me know what you think in the comment section below on the banned and limited card list here. Again, limit or semi-limit Bliss Tricks. There is literally no reason somebody should be allowed to have that entire line of 3 of, and because they're gonna find ways to. Oh, we got Rise of the Ashes down to 1. That's gonna limit it. Nope, didn't. Let's do more left up. Nope, that's gonna make it even like there's gonna people who are really good at strategy and everything is going to find a way to dominate with Bliss Tricks as long as it's allowed to be at 3 of. They need to stop that first. Limit Bliss Tricks, Snowlick, and Askral. Then we can worry. If you want to semi-limit them, that's fine. But they should not be allowed to be at 3 of. That line is way too powerful still. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, and I'll see you guys probably for Elestrals Day, whatever they come out for that, because I'm sure that's when we'll start seeing some information on live stream. Till then, nice, and I'll see you guys later.